Here's a solo twin clutch cover that someone has thrown a chain on and busted out the back end of it. It was originally repaired with JB Weld and then repainted, but the owner wants to do a full restoration, so we're going to weld it up. Also, there's a couple cracks up by the bar pad that also need to be welded. So I tried to get a couple of different videos while welding it, but only one of them really turned out. I use a technique kind of similar to a lay wire technique where you keep the filler rod in the puddle the whole entire time. It's different from a lay wire technique. I do not have the wire sitting in the groove of which I want to weld. I am actually pushing it in and pushing the material up as I weld to help build upwards and grow the material out of the part. One thing nice about magnesium, you can pretty much dip the rod or dip your tungsten and not really worry about contaminating your weld. It doesn't seem to wick up on your tungsten like aluminum would. So you see here how I have the filler rod and it's just staying in the puddle the whole entire time, and I'll actually kind of lift my hand up a little bit and draw it upwards as I need to build the puddle up more and then continue on with it. So to do this kind of technique, you either need to start really far out with the filler rod and be able to control where you're going with that far of it sticking out, or you need to be able to feed it in with your fingers using kind of just a little push technique with your forefinger and your thumb, and you kind of transfer over to feed in the wire and still be able to keep it nice and precise in the puddle. We're just basically going to take multiple passes over this until we build it up and build it to where we can grind it down without any problem. Probably around 20 passes or so to get the whole thing built up. The corner took a lot more because I had to build out then up, but as you can see, I'm getting close to the end by the time I actually got a decent video. Here you can really see the finger technique I'm talking about, where you're just trying to keep the filler in and you're just adding it faster than what you can almost push your hand in. So you're having to push it with your fingers in and just go hand or finger over finger and keep pushing it in to build it up. I feel this is getting a little boring, so let's just speed this up a bit. Now onto the corner. Corners are always the toughest. You got to build up both sides, and you really have to just overbuild them to be able to get a nice clean edge everywhere around. So you really have to concentrate a lot on your welding to make sure you have enough everywhere, so when you finish off the grinding you don't have any low spots. Now we're going to weld the inside of the material to help blend in all the welds and to make sure we don't have any low spots, to try to float all the contaminants up to the top to where we can grind them off later. Basically the general idea is also to kind of wick or to put more material out on the base material so you're blending in the actual heat affected zone so it gets better adhesion to the base metal, in that no matter what on this old mag you're going to have pores where you're hitting the base metal in a heat affected zone, so you're trying to actually like make that as if you look down a cross section of it like a cone. So you want to kind of blend it into the existing material to try to keep as much strength as possible. Once again, not much to look at here, so let's speed it up a little bit and get through this part quick. Sometimes it can help to stop and wire brush off the area to kind of knock all the carbon stuff off the top. Make sure you use a nice stainless steel brush and get a dedicated one for magnesium aluminum, and never use it on steel because it can contaminate your material. So here again, we're just kind of trying to get that corner a little bit better. Like I said earlier, corners are tough. You're trying to melt in a lot on the tip, which is always hard to try to get your heat in there without it falling out on you. And so you're trying to build it up really low heat and try to keep it blended in. Still a little bit of a low spot here I saw, so I'm going to add a little bit more around that corner. Sorry, this is the last of the welding videos. The angle on the outside part was not easy to get, and it just didn't turn out very well. So here we have a still shot of the inside of the bar pad where we just kind of welded some wings down and then blended in the cracks. It'll clean up pretty nicely. Here's the outside after I finish welding it. I know it looks pretty ugly, but it'll finish off nicely along with the inside portion of it. So here comes the blended in welds. Notice a little bit of pores around that area. There's not much you can do with the base metal that we're dealing with. Here I just want to leave some wings to help support that area in the future so it doesn't crack out again. You can notice the back of it cleaned up pretty well. Nice consistent edge along the whole side of it. Once again, pores to deal with, but that'll fill in pretty nicely with the metal filler before the powder coat. I sent it back to the owner because he had some special epoxy he wanted to use for the powder coat. Hope he doesn't mind me stealing his pictures, but he does take better ones than I do. So here you can see after it's been filled in and it's been sanded off smooth, I think it'll turn out really nice for the powder coat.